So we have seen basically the students are having the queries ki why we have networks, even though it is not mentioned. It is because when you talk about computer fundamentals, it comes as a computer fundamental and the networking. That is the reason we generally cover computer fundamentals, that is the basics of computers, in the first session. Second and third day is divided into computer networks subject. Now, what exactly a data communication network is and what are the things that we can go ahead with it? Let us discuss that first. So when we talk about data communication network, it is the way how you are connected over the internet. So that's today, without network, we cannot even work properly, right? So that's the reason how that communication takes place, how, what are the different devices, how your machine is connected over the internet. All these concepts comes under the category called as networking. And why do we do networking? Because we wish to transmit the data from one location to another. Maybe we want to share some information and so on and so forth. That's the reason we have a data communication and networking. Now, first of all, I have divided this complete data communication network subject into few categories, you can say. For example, initially I will explain about the introduction part. Okay, what exactly a network is, what do you mean by networking, what are the basically transmission mediums, what do you mean by switching, what are the different types of wires, and so on. This is called as a physical requirement for networking, right? For formation of a network, what are the physical requirements? कौन से टाइप के वायर्स लगते हैं, कितने नंबर ऑफ मशीन्स हम कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं, what do you mean by LAN, what do you mean by WAN, what do you mean by MAN, and so on. So these all are physical requirements. Second important point is जब हम physically network बनाते हैं, for example I'm connecting 5 machines with some wiring, तो मेरा नेटवर्क ऑटोमेटिकली जनरेट नहीं होता है. We need to assign something called as IP address, right? I hope you must have heard about the terminology called as IP address, Internet Protocol address, and that is called as you are logically dividing your network or logically assigning some address so that your machine can be understood or machine can be identified to the outside world. That is called as IP addressing. So we will see something introduction about what is IP address, what do you mean by classes of IP addresses, how IP addresses are assigned, what is class A, class B, and so on. This is about IP address. And finally, when you are transmitting the data, then we follow certain standards. So I'm going to explain you something called as OSI layers, and this is the network standard for making the communication possible. So first, we will see the physical requirement for formation of network. Then we will see once the physical network is ready, then we will see the logical distribution. And finally, we will see what are the universal standards that we need to follow whenever we are connected over the network. And what is the need of that networking network standards, that also I will explain. So these 2 days we have divided dedicatedly to data communication and network. Now you can consider, if you go through these slides, you will get an overview about computer networks. Being a competitive exam, you can, if you observe data communication network, it's a very vast subject, right? There are thousands of protocols which are available in data communication network, and it is not easy as well as it is not feasible for every person to remember all the 1,000 protocols. So you can expect at least 1 or 2 questions based on protocols, but rest all questions comes as data computer fundamentals and the networking part. So if you say कि 1 or 2 questions are coming on different protocols, and if you say that the paper came out of syllabus, it is not so. It is because it is a competitive exam, so you can expect some questions which may not be there into these slides also. Because जितना आप नेटवर्किंग में डीप जाओगे उतना नेटवर्किंग सिलेबस ज्यादा है, एंड नेटवर्किंग में वो लोग कितने प्रोटोकॉल्स है, यू कैन ऑल्सो जस्ट इफ यू जस्ट गूगल इट कि देयर आर how many protocols also in network, so you will see thousands. Next important point is there are two major categories of networking. One is wired networking, another is wireless networking. As far as this syllabus is concerned, we will focus specifically on wired networking. We are not focusing on wireless domain. We are not focusing on wireless communication. So that's the reason I will explain with respect to wired networking. This is what is, you can say, we can go for. So as far as this subject is concerned, यहाँ पे भी आपको MCQ type of questions आएंगे, जहाँ पे you have to just remember few concepts and you can just select the options. So this is about the introduction about what exactly a data communication network is and what exactly the concepts that we are going to see, right? So when you talk about network, it is basically you are connecting multiple devices together. Devices can be computer, it can be a printer, it can be a scanner, to share some information. And those group of devices can be some machines, can be IP addresses, can be hosts, and so on. So when you're connecting multiple devices together, they share some information, and that is nothing but called as formation of a network. And when you form a network, the first thing that comes into mind, why we are forming the network? Because we have to share some data. We want to do some kind of communication. And when you talk about network, it can be any kind of network, but we are restricting ourselves to the computer network. When I'm talking about computer network, means computers are connected with each other through some IP address, through some wiring media, so that they can have a data to be basically shared and they can communicate, right? Now, there are few terminologies, like for example, node. When you talk about any device which is connected over the network, then that is called as a node. So agar मैं बोलती हूँ my machine is connected over the network, then that means I can call that machine as a host, I can call that machine as a node, or I can call that machine as a device also, a networking, a device, that's it. Not a networking device, because networking devices are a different topic. So this is called as a node. Any device which is connected over the network is called as a node. Later on, when I talk about network interface card, which is called as NIC card. So what exactly it is? When you talk about motherboard, right? Or in your system, आपके सिस्टम में अगर NIC कार्ड है तो ही आप कम्युनिकेट कर सकते हो, तो ही आप नेटवर्क ज्वाइन कर सकते हो. So in every machine, the component which helps me to connect my computer over the network, that component is called as a network interface card. The short form is NIC. Once in CCAT, this question was asked, what is the full form of NIC? So you must remember few full forms called as a network interface card. This network interface card is also called as Ethernet card. Why Ethernet? Because the address is printed, a unique address is printed onto that card. Where it is plugged in, it is plugged into the computer motherboard. So when I'm talking about network, for a machine, I must have NIC card. NIC is network interface card, which helps me to connect my computer over the network. So when I say I wish to communicate, then I must have a sender, I must have a receiver to whom I wish to connect. Now, when I say sender and receiver, there is something called as a medium. What is medium? Medium is basically some kind of wiring techniques. For example, अगर आपने कभी कॉलेज में देखा रहेगा या ऑफिस में somewhere you might have seen LAN cables. Have you ever observed LAN cables? ग्रे कलर की LAN cables रहती है जिसके there is a connector over there and you connect that LAN cable with your laptop and you are connected over the network, right? So at that moment, I will say LAN cable is my medium of communication, right? So when we talk about medium, it means the transmission medium via which the two machines are connected with each other, or two devices are connected with each other, that is called as a medium. And whenever a sender is sending a message to the receiver, sender is sending some kind of a data to the receiver, that is called as a message. Sometimes this message, the message is also called as a packet, or it is also called as a payload, whatever you talk about. जैसे हम डिवाइस बोलते हैं, होस्ट बोलते हैं, मशीन बोलते हैं, or you can say node बोलते हैं. So these are different terminologies that you can go for. Similarly, when you talk about when you talk about data which is to be transmitted, that gets transmitted through the message from source to destination. This is basically called as medium and the message. Right now, Pawan, I will come to the point which is called as transmission medium. There are various categories of transmission mediums we will see in today's class, right? So let us first cover a few topics, then still if you have queries, you can ask, right? Now, when I say I want to send a message to the receiver, in that case, that message should be delivered to the correct receiver. That is important. Second, the message, let us say I'm sending 2 lines. So those 2 lines should be sent accurately to the receiver. If I'm sending a message now, it should reach to the destination in some stipulated time. आज मैसेज किया 1 year के बाद गया, will it work? No, it will not work, right? Also, there should not be more delay in case of transmission of data. That means अगर ये चारों चीजें बराबर से वर्क कर रही है, then I can say that my network is effective. So what is effectiveness of data communication system is? It is based on 4 characters. One is delivery. Delivery means where I have to deliver, who is the destination, that address should be correct. Accuracy indicates the way I am sending the message. If I'm sending a message which is having 4 lines, 2 lines, 10 lines, 100 lines, any file, it should accurately go and reach at the destination. It should reach in a stipulated time, that is called as timeliness. And jitter indicates uneven delay. For example, if you have observed sometimes in live matches, then sometimes there is a fraction of delay in between receiving the packets. Yeah, sometimes in online sessions also, you post a message, ma'am, there is a lag in between, right? So what does that lag indicates? Lag indicates there is an uneven delay in sending the packet and receiving the packet. And that is nothing but a jitter. So you can say whenever there is a lag, that technical terminology is called as jitter. अगर jitter नहीं रहेगा, it will go flawlessly and it is basically make my communication more effective. So these are some of the network terminologies one must go for or one must understand. Now, why we need network? Nowadays, everyone is aware about why we need a network, right? Basically for information sharing, basically for enhancing the communication, for sharing of resources, centralized management, remote computing. Information sharing means if the network is not there, then will you be able to share the information? Obviously, no, we cannot, right? The reason is if you do not, if you say I am now sharing the data through WhatsApp, that means I'm trying to share my information with you through the network. It enhances the communication. Obviously, people remains connected. And when you talk about sharing the resources, if you remember in normally labs or in colleges or in offices, there are some 10 machines which are connected, let us say, over the network. And these 10 machines are connected with one single printer. From wherever I will give a print command, it will do the print job for me. Means, can I say, if I am connected over the network, I am able to share the printer with 10 machines. Otherwise, मुझे ये printer हर एक machine को separately देना पड़ता था. The cost would have been increased. That is the reason through the network we can share the resources. Next is facilitate centralized management. Now, what I mean by centralized management, it is basically, for example, you are having, let us say, a server, right? via which you can perform different operation. There's a client and server. When you talk about bank, so bank is having a centralized server where the information of all the customer is maintained, and the customers can fetch the detailed information, can withdraw, can deposit. तो अल्टीमेटली एक सेंट्रल लोकेशन पे मेरा डेटा अपडेट होता है, मेरा डेटा मॉडिफाई होता है. But if why it is so? It is because we are centrally managing the data, and that is possible only because of network. Next is remote computing. You are working on your office PC for basically office PC by sitting at home. That is called as remote computing. या फिर when you try to share the screen remotely, right, with me in a Zoom meeting, in that case you can say that is also one kind of example of remote computing. But how it is possible? Only possible because of network. If you have a good network, then you can have all these applications or all these facilities in a better way, in a very effective way. So these are some need of networks, or you can say some application areas of network. Now, sometimes in your exam, these types of questions are also asked. For example, if I say, if you have, let us say, a router at home, right? So a router is having some capacity. Let us say my router is having a capacity to connect 6 devices. So if you connect only one device, obviously you will get a more speed. Do you agree, everyone? If I connect 2 devices to the router, thoda sa speed kam ho jayega. But if I try all the 6 devices to be connected, obviously that speed will get decreased, right? That means if the number of users are increasing and I do not have a very effective hardware device, it will affect the performance of my system. Next, suppose आपके पास normal you can say if I have a router or I have a LAN connectivity, I have a, let us say, 4 Mbps, I have 50 Mbps, or I have 100 Mbps. Suppose I have only 4 Mbps, obviously the data, or you can say I have a speed of 4 Mbps, let us say, assume. So obviously it will affect the performance. But now let us say I have 100 Mbps. In that case, I will have an increased performance of it. So that means the number of factors, which may include number of users, the type of transmission medium, the capability of connected hardware, and the efficiency of software, all these are basically affecting to the performance of the network. So can I conclude performance of a network is completely depends upon these all factors. Now, if I say I have basically good performance network, in that case, the output generated by my network is good. That means that is called as throughput. But if I have very less speed network, obviously it will give me a delay in sending and receiving of data. So that means how the performance is measured. The performance is measured in terms of delay and throughput. Throughput indicates how much output it is generating. Kitna upload download speed hai aapka, and accordingly it will send and receive the packets, and that is called as throughput. So that is basically called as performance. Similarly, the second important criteria is reliability. Now, for example, if you are saying to me, ma'am, there is a lag in between. So if my lag is just for fraction of second, it will hardly affect. But if the lag is basically for 20 minutes, obviously it means my network is not so reliable, right? Sometimes we get a message unstable and network is unstable, instability error. That means your network is basically getting down, right? Or maybe it is not able to fetch or receive that much kind of data. So reliability is, अगर मेरा lag fraction of second में recover हो गया, then I can say my network is good enough so that it is taking or little time from its failure to come back or to recover. And that is called as reliability. So what is reliable? It is a measured by the frequency of failure, the time it takes to link to recover from the failure. So these types of MCQs are asked in your CCAT, where the frequency of failure and the time it takes to link to the recover from the failure is measured by which network criteria. You must select the option as reliability. ऐसे type के theoretical questions you can expect in CCAT in case of networks and computer fundamentals, right? It is measured in terms of availability and robustness. Robustness means how strong is your network. If you have a 4 Mbps, then you can say, no, my network is not enough strong. If you have 25 or 50 Mbps, then you will say, yes, my network is strong enough. And it will basically, it is more reliable too. So that is called as reliability. When you talk about security, obviously, if I am trying to protect my data against the corruption or the loss of data, that is obvious requirement for networking. For example, when you are connected over the router, then always when someone external person sees your router, still they are unable to connect to your router. The reason is they do not know the password for your router. That means that, what does it mean? It means that you are putting a security such that the other external users cannot use your network, and that is called as kind of security. So these are the major you can say criteria which comes under the network. One is performance, second is reliability, third is security. Now, when we talk about network, we have two major categories. One is wired, another is wireless. When you talk about wired, means I am trying to connect my devices through some cable or through some wire. So that is called as medium of communication. How my network is formed, whether it is wired media or whether it is unwireless media. If I'm talking about wired, means the medium of communication is wired. Means मैंने literally wires के साथ मेरा network form किया है, तो उसको मैं बोलूंगी wired network. But if the medium of communication is wireless, then it can be air, electromagnetic waves, and so on, right? Now, there are two categories. One is cable types. When you talk about cables, cables means wires. Here, the cable types are PAN, WLAN, WWAN, and GSM, and so on. We will not focus on wireless, we will focus on wired technology of networks, right? Now, for example, if I'm saying there are different type of cable types. There are coaxial cables, there are CAT cables, there is fiber optics, and so on. Now the question is, why do we have so many types of cables, right? The reason is based on the requirement, and second reason is based on the speed of transmitting a data. For example, if I talk about coaxial cable, they are basically wired media. They transmit the data in the form of electrical signals only. If I'm talking about CAT cables, called as category cable, also called as twisted pair cables, they also transmit the data in the form of electrical signals only. If I'm talking about fiber optics, they are basically the fastest way of transmission medias, and they are in the form of light, right? Now, when you talk about types, types indicates LAN, MAN, and WAN. So first, we will focus on different cable types, and then we are talking about types, right? So the screen, Ashwini is asking, the screen you are showing me as an application of network? Yes, it is, because I'm remotely sharing my screen. I'm remotely available in front of you and conducting the session. So it is possible only because I'm connected over the internet. Otherwise, it's not possible, right? So So in this, and obviously in this pandemic, we have, without network, we could not have done anything, right? So you can understand the importance of networks, right? All right. Coming to your point, let us say I'm talking about cable types. Once the question was asked, category 4 cable can go for 16 Mbps of data. So which category cable can go for 16 Mbps of data? That is called as Cat 4. Now, for example, let us take a simple scenario. I have, let us say, a mobile which is of OnePlus brand, right? So obviously, have you observed OnePlus का wire charging का अलग रहता है? I have a Samsung mobile where its charger is different. If I have an iPhone, then iPhone का charger अलग रहता है. Means devices are same. All these are mobile devices, but every charger का wire is different, right? Right. That means, can I connect my Apple iPhone charger with the OnePlus? Obviously, no. It is because it is a requirement of that device that you have to go for this particular charging cable only. Can I say that is also one type of a wire via which my mobile gets charged? And that is nothing but called as wiring media. Similarly, some people are having 4 Mbps of data. Some may get connected 25 Mbps of data. Some may have 100 Mbps of data. जैसे जैसे आपका इंटरनेट प्लान रहता है वैसे रहता है. तो in that case, if I am taking 10 Mbps of data, तो मुझे जो केबल का टाइप लगता है that is category 3 cable. If I'm going for 16 Mbps of data, तो मुझे जो केबल का टाइप लगता है, केबल मीन्स वायर ओनली, तो वो लगता है Cat 4. If I'm saying 100 Mbps, so I will require Cat 5 cable. So are you understanding, based on the speed of the network, how much you have, and based on that speed of the network, you require that kind of category cables, right? So this is basically the range of different category cables. For the home, maximum we can go up to 100 Mbps, not more than that. Can anyone tell me what is the reason behind it? कभी आपने सुना है क्या मेरे पास 1000 Mbps of data speed है? No. Maximum 25, 50, 100 and that's it, maximum, right? Anyone tell me the reason behind it, why it is so? Forget about the cost. Obviously cost is more, but why? The reason is your device, your आपका जो basic home purpose के लिए machine है, आपके system में जो motherboard है, right? Motherboard की उतनी capacity होनी चाहिए उतने network bits को accept करने की. Are you getting? That's the reason we can, for home purposes, we go for Cat maximum up to Cat 5, that's 100 Mbps. Right? So, or the router is not so strong, your devices which you are using is not so strong enough to fetch that much data. That's the reason we go up to this level, right? So CAT stands for category cable. They are also called as twisted pair cables. Now, that's the reason purposefully I have, you can, yes, maximum, that's what Akshay, but you cannot say I have 1000 Mbps. 125 Mbps तक देते हैं if you are using fiber optics, and so 1000 Mbps home usage के लिए नहीं रहेगा, right? If you have very big servers and you have that much configured good PCs, then we can go for this, right? Right. So that means maximum आपका जो machine है वो 125 Mbps तक ही data को handle कर सकता है, right? That's why you have your service provider may have used Cat 5e cable. Okay. So this is basically called as category cables. This is one kind of transmission medias which we can go for. That is called as wired media. So now we are looking into the different medias. That is nothing but transmission mediums. Medium indicates how I am trying to transmit my data. Whenever I'm transmitting the data, there are three ways. One, is in simplex mode, another is in half duplex mode, another is in full duplex mode. When you talk about simplex, it is basically जब आप कीबोर्ड से कोई भी डेटा प्रिंट करने के लिए बोलते हो तो it gets communicated to your monitor, but your monitor will not give instruction to your keyboard. So that is basically a one-way communication. So when you're performing one-way communication, that is basically called as simplex mode. Keyboard is the standard example of direction of data which can be transmitted only in one direction. Second is half duplex mode. The best example is walkie-talkie. That means if you talk about walkie-talkie, each station can both transmit and receive at the same time. That is called as walkie-talkie. In this scenario, both the machines can communicate with each other, but not at the same time. So this is called as the direction of data from one machine to another machine is in one direction only. Over and stop, then the other person can continue. Otherwise, there will be a data loss. Now, next is full duplex mode. Full duplex mode means a telephone network. The network in which the data or the mode in which the direction of data is in both the ways. That means at the same point of time, both sender and receiver can easily transmit the data, can easily basically receive the data. ऐसे नहीं होता है कि जब हम फोन पे बात करते हैं तो हम लोग साइमल्टेनियसली एट द सेम पॉइंट बात नहीं कर सकते. We do talk, right? So that is basically called as full duplex mode. So communication between two persons by the telephone line through which both can talk and listen at the same time is called as full duplex mode. So over here, I'll discuss few questions like walkie-talkie is basically the example of which type of mode. So you have to select half duplex mode. The question, telephone network uses which type of mode? Answer is full duplex mode. The standard keyboard and the monitor connectivity can be done in which type of mode? That is simplex mode. So this is called as data flow direction or transmission modes. कि हम हमारा data कौन से direction में भेज सकते हैं. So based on the example, sometimes mode is also asked. In this subject, I am going to discuss few MCQs from the slide itself. So if you can keep a pen and paper in front of you so that you can note down few types of MCQs that can be asked in your exams, right? So this is about your simplex mode, half duplex mode, and full duplex mode. Next, let us talk about transmission medium. The transmission medium can be in two ways. One is guided media, another is unguided media. Normally, wired communication को हम guided media बोलते हैं, wireless communication को हम unguided बोलते हैं. So, wired medias means via which I make a connectivity through some wires. That is called as guided media. Means I know that the transmission of data will take place through some specific path, through some specific fixed path, that is called as guided media. But when you talk about, you can say unguided, you do not know via which path your data is getting transmitted. For example, when you talk about wired media, so copper wires is one example, fiber optics is another example, and your twisted pair is another example. तो wires के through अगर आपका network connected है, that is guided. When you try to change a channel of TV through remote, is it a guided or unguided? Is it guided or unguided? It is unguided because you do not have a fixed channel for transmission of data. So radio waves, lasers, etc., all these are unguided waves, unguided media. Here, absolutely correct, Nilesh. Here, the data which get transmitted is in the form of electromagnetic waves or electromagnetic signals. This is called as two major categories of mediums. One is guided, another is unguided. Now, when I talk about guided, उसके तीन categories है. So the first is twisted pair, second is coaxial cable, third is optical fiber. Why there are three categories? Let me clear that point first. The major requirement is based on the distance that I wish to cover. अगर आपने कॉलेजेस में या स्मॉल ऑफिसेस में देखा रहेगा तो आपने ग्रे कलर की वायर्स देखी रहेगी, लैन केबल्स जिसको हम बोलते हैं, राइट? तो लैन केबल्स आर बेसिकली मेड अप फ्रॉम ट्विस्टेड पेयर वायर्स, राइट? Why they are called as twisted pair? If you have basically observed that twisted pair, उसके अंदर ऐसे कलरफुल वायर्स रहती है. Have you ever observed those colorful wires? And those all are twisted in nature, right? They are twisted, right? Second important thing is when you talk about twisted pair, the twisted pair wires are used when I have to cover maximum length of 100 meters. तो अगर मुझे 100 meters तक का ही रेंज कवर करना है तो आई विल गो फॉर ट्विस्टेड पेयर. आपके राउटर के साथ जो कनेक्टेड वायर है, राइट, राउटर के साथ जो कनेक्टेड वायर रहती है वो भी ग्रे कलर का ट्विस्टेड पेयर वायर रहती है. हैव यू एवर ऑब्जर्व एवरीवन ग्रे कलर की वायर, राइट? वो वायर आपके टेरेस पे किधर तो स्विच रखा रहेगा और उस टेरेस से वो फेच करके आपके राउटर के साथ कनेक्ट किया है. So the distance between maybe in your terrace and your this home is not more than 100 meters. इसकी वजह से वो आपको twisted pair लगा के देता है. Have you understood the need and the requirement of wires? Right. The second thing is why they are twisted. It is because as far as your physics knowledge, a little bit physics knowledge, if you keep the wires in parallel mode, right, then they may generate some electromagnetic interference, and due to which a noise gets generated. To avoid that basically you can say noise, then to avoid that noise we generally try to twist that cables, right? So inductance is cancelled when the wires are twisted. So the most common wires used for transmitting these signals is twisted pair. So here two types of questions are asked. One question is basically the twisted pair can cover how much of data? Answer is 100-meter wire. Second type of question, the twisted pair are basically twisted. Why? To avoid electromagnetic interference. The third type of question is, in case of twisted pair, how many types are there? Answer is two types, STP and UTP. STP stands for shielded twisted pair and UTP stands for unshielded twisted pair. तो जो आपके पास राउटर के साथ कनेक्टेड ट्विस्टेड है उसको कवरिंग है तो उसको हम बोलेंगे इट्स अ प्रोटेक्शन गिवन टू दैट पर्टिकुलर वायर, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज एसटीपी वायर, कॉल्ड एज शील्डेड ट्विस्टेड पेयर. द वायर्स विच आर बंडल्ड टुगेदर इनिशियली, जिनको हम लोगों ने कवरिंग नहीं किया है, देन दैट इज कॉल्ड एज अनशील्डेड ट्विस्टेड पेयर, right? So there are two categories of twisted pair, STP and UTP. STP is shielded, UTP is unshielded twisted pair, right? Now, when you talk about twisted pair, the distance that they cover is 100 meters, all right? So this is about the twisted pair. The second category is coaxial cable. Again, there comes a need. कोएक्सियल केबल कहाँ पे कनेक्टेड रहता है? हैव यू एवर ऑब्जर्व? आपके केबल टीवी के साथ कनेक्टेड केबल हम ट्विस्टेड पेयर कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं क्या? क्या हम ट्विस्टेड पेयर केबल सेम टीवी के साथ कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं? नो, वी कैन नॉट. व्हाई? बिकॉज दैट डज नॉट सपोर्ट. हर एक का रिक्वायरमेंट अलग अलग रहेगा. That is why when you are working with television network, in that case we go for which type of cabling media? Answer is coaxial cable. So if you talk about coaxial cables, they are widely used for cable TV connections. Second important thing, cable TV connection के लिए distance थोड़ा ज़्यादा लगता है. So can I say if I want more than 100-meter network, then I can go for coaxial cable also, right? Now, they can cover longer distance. They can go up to 1 kilometer of cable. They can be used for analog and digital both. They are little expensive than your twisted pair, but less expensive than your fiber optics. They are easy to install and maintain. No one asks you what are the basically internal parts of coaxial cable. These diagrams are just copied it from some books or from the internet. The reason is you should visualize, yes, this is what is a coaxial cable is. That's it. So coaxial cables are basically used for what? They are used for cable TV connections, right? So the second type of question is, if I want around 1 kilometer of distance and little longer distance, then which type of cable I should go for? I should go for coaxial cable. Second question is, cable TV operators uses which type of cabling media or which type of transmission media? Answer is coaxial cable. The third that is normally nowadays used for faster speed is basically fiber optics, optical fiber, right? Optical fiber is basically uses thin light waves, right? They are made up of some silica glass and plastic. They have some covering which is called as buffer. The speed of your optical fiber is more, but the thing is optical fiber are little bit costlier than your normal twisted pair, right? So this is the three major categories of transmission media. One is guided, another is unguided. Guided में हमने तीन categories देखे, twisted pair, coaxial cable and optical fiber. In case of unguided, that is nothing but with respect to your radio waves, electromagnetic signals, laser lights, etc. So this covers the topic which is called as transmission medias. समझ में आया यहाँ तक? Third layer. Okay, here outer jacket is just the covering, right? Outer jacket is basically the covering that is basically just for the protection. Okay. Have you understood the transmission media and the need of transmission media, and why do we have so many transmission medias? Right. Let us go ahead to the next point, which is called as switching.